Good morning, you're welcome back from that break. This is still the AM Club coming to you live from the Mix4 Studios, Oleander Street, East Legon, Accra, Ghana. I'm super excited to be back here on the show. My name is Miriam Uduak Menta. We're about to learn, okay? We are about to learn on the show this morning. You remember those days in school when you used to fail exams? Well, there is a neuroscience definition why, in fact, reasons why you failed your exams. We're going to get into that conversation pretty shortly. But before we do, with Jibu Water, staying refreshed has never been easier. Jibu Water provides clean, healthy water you can trust as your go-to source for drinking and cooking, with options of our innovative 20-liter bottles that come with a tap and 18.9-liter bottles. Your dispensers will have a breath of new life as our clean and hygienic Jibu water flows through them for your consumption, whether you need a cool drink to quench your thirst or clean, healthy water you can use for that special cooking. I always tell people that if you don't think water contributes to a tasty meal, try cooking with dirty water or water that has taste. You would understand what I'm saying, okay? For those who cook, by the way. Well, so we get into our conversation this morning. Now for our big conversation, we're discussing why students fail exams failure from a neuroscience perspective. And joining me for the very first time this year, God Alfo, lecturer, author, and memory trainer. Good morning.
Good morning, Miriam.
How are we doing?
We're good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year. I started the year with you, so now we know not to ghost each other. At least let's say it on national television.
Yeah.
So for a second, when the topic was shared with me, I was asking my producer, listeners, if you don't prepare yourself for exams, you fail. He was like, maybe there's more to this. Look into it and let's have a conversation. And so today, I am proud to have taken time to look through it, but now we're going to educate our viewers and the young people that are following us this morning. And so let's get right into it. Now, from a neuroscience point of view, right, what is the most common brain-related reason students fail exams or fail exams?
Great. Good question. There are a number of reasons. But number one is fear.
Fear.
F-E-A-R, fear.
Yeah.
And fear comes in when you have poor preparation. So before we get into that, I have a model, small model, that guides people in passing exams. And you could use the same model to also understand why people fail. Okay. So it's called the D4C, D4C. So D, the C's are 4.
Okay.
So D, 4C, effect.
Okay.
So the D stands for desire.
Okay.
So number one, if you look at those who fail, many of them, they don't have strong desire to pass.
Oh.
I'm just passing through. When I train my students, I do project management training and I lecture project management. If you look at if you're marking the script, those who do well, you will remember that in class, they showed strong interest. They had strong desire to pass. They were asking questions. They were there early. They don't want to leave till the class is done. And if you look at the paper, those who didn't do well, you could remember in class, these people didn't show much interest. They were not asking questions. They were on their phones when you were teaching them. They wanted to leave. They won't come to class early. It's a reflection of your desire. So number one is desire. So I wrote this one. When you have weak desire, when you have weak why, it attracts bad grades. And when you have strong desire, when you have a strong why, it wins good grades. So it starts with desire. And if you look into desire, there's a lot to unpack there. Yeah. It came from the word deciders, from the stars. So when you desire something strongly, it's coming from the stars. Who is up there? God. So when you have natural desire, remember this, the ability to pull it off is already sown in you. It's also ignited All you have to do is to push it and don't be afraid. But if you don't have a natural desire, you can also nurture that desire with reasons. When I was in Form 1, I nurtured a desire. I wanted to become first. When I was young, my dad wanted me to spell egg, E-G-G. I couldn't spell it. So but therefore, I was really dumb. He really beat me up.
For not being able to
spell egg. Egg is easy. Egg. Egg. I was scratching my head.
Our parents were not parenting well.
Egg. And he actually beat me up.
Oh no.
So I wanted to prove my dad wrong.
Oh God.
So I had to nurture a desire. There was a strong reason. So I had to nurture that desire. And I said I go in Form 1 to become first. It didn't happen in Form 1, but it happened in Form 3. So if you have a desire, it dictates everything. The next one is your first C, content. If you have a strong desire, it will reflect your content, the content you need to put in. You want to cover all the key areas. You don't want to do selective reading. Those with weak desire, they will do selective reading. See, Nana. Because some people flip the book. Whatever page I get to, luck, that's where I'll read. Selective reading.
Right.
This will lead to fear. So you want to cover every part. So if you have weak desire, you have weak content, you won't cover a lot. You don't have a lot of content. You don't have a lot of information in there. They've given you scope where you need to read. You don't have much content. That will affect you, obviously. If you read part A and you didn't read part F, and there's a question on part F, you can't get it. Next one is consolidation. So from content to consolidation. So those who usually fail, they usually don't have strong memories in the head. So they read something, but they couldn't get it to long-term memory. So in the exam hall, you know it's a tense environment. So when these things happen, they can't even remember because the information is not in their long-term memory. So it's hard to retrieve it. And we'll go to neuroscience and explain it further.
Yeah, because I would want to understand how you're able to put information
so
in your...
if you are not able to consolidate it properly using learning techniques, that's how come I talk about learning techniques. So if you don't use more learning techniques to form strong memories, in the exam hall, you are likely to forget what you read. It won't come to you. So consolidation, poor consolidation. Next one is caution. But before caution, you could even talk about confidence. You get in there, opposite of confidence is fear.
Yeah.
So you get in there, you don't have much confidence. I may not remember what I learned. What if question 5? I didn't read that. It reduces your level of confidence. You're not confident in there. And confidence is your stronghold. Confidence is the power of the mind. So when you don't have it, your mind is weak. It can't perform what it has to do. And like I said, we'll get into neuroscience, the neuroscience bit. Last one is caution. Some people would have a strong desire. They would have strong content. They will find a way to consolidate information in there. They might be confident, but caution. They rush. Oh, I know this. They won't take their time to understand the question.
Yeah, because if I take my time, I'll forget.
Yes. So that's fear.
Yeah.
They won't take their time to understand the question. Photosynthesis. Yeah, I know. But it has been rephrased. Maybe you're talking about elements of photosynthesis. What are the key parts in there? Then you are describing it, the whole process and everything. Take your time, read it, caution. Plan well. They don't. They rush. Optimism bias. I know this, I can do this. That is the problem. So when you look at this, majority of these ones, many of the things I talked about will lead to fear. If you don't have strong desire, if you have poor content, you did selective reading, if your level of confidence is low, if your level of consolidation is really weak or bad or low, it will bring fear. Because you are in the exam hall, uncertainty. Maybe F will come. I'm not sure. Maybe I might not remember what I read. So you entertain fear. Now let's go to neuroscience. When you do this, fear comes in. The brain will perceive the fear as a threat. There's a danger. You see somebody seeing a lion, scared. How the body and the brain respond is the same as you entertaining fear. See, that's how dangerous fear could be. Mm-hmm. When you entertain fear, it's like you being chased by a lion, like a big danger. So the brain thinks there's a danger. So the part of the brain that will come into play, you have prefrontal cortex, the symphony leader, the CEO of the brain. Mm-hmm. It's meant to help you retrieve information faster. It's meant to help you focus well. It's meant to help you think clearer. It's meant to help you understand the questions. Now, when that happens, it gets weakened. Another part is amygdala that does that work. Amygdala is the emotion center. Yeah. When it experiences fear, amygdala, okay, there's fear. So it goes to talk to the boss. Hello, boss. I've got work to do. There's fear. And I know you take a lot of resources to do your work. Mm-hmm. But we need that resource. We need those resources to fight the fear, to fight the danger. So please, could you shut down a little bit? Boss says survival is more important. So we need to survive. Good. Down. I'll shut down. I'll give you the resources. Use that to fight the danger. So amygdala will trigger the release of cortisol. Yeah. Level of cortisol will go up. And when that happens, it floods the brain. And it will weaken the prefrontal cortex. Your boss will be weakened. Get a little bit drowsy. So it can't perform its work properly. So now you want to focus, you can't. I want to remember what you learned, you can't. Again, there's another part called the hippocampus, which is the memory center. When level of cortisol goes up, it weakens the hippocampus. It's the memory indexer. It formed the memory. The memory was transported from its unit to the long-term memory, so it knows where the memory is. Yes. But it's also weakened.
Not able to help.
So you can't remember. You are in there, you can't remember. You are scared. You can't remember what you learned. And some people, as soon as they walk out of the exam hall, they start to remember all the things they learned. It starts coming back to them. How? Because the prefrontal cortex has taken over. Yeah. There's no danger again. Yeah. That's how come you've been able to remember. So if you can find a way to overcome fear, you are likely to remember a lot of the things you learn in the exam hall. If you entertain fear, you are likely to forget a lot of the things in the exam hall. And when you forget, you fail.
Anxiety and stress. Can you, would you say that, the brain structure or all of these parts of the brain that you have explained to us reacts the same way to stress and anxiety?
Yeah, the same way that anxiety, stress, fear, the brain will treat them the same.
The same, okay.
So it will something we call stress response. The same thing. When there's anxiety, when there's fear, there's stress, same response. That's how come you don't want to. Anxiety, before the exam, you're anxious. Yeah. When you get there and you perceive the danger, that's fear. That's the difference. Right. Fear at the moment.
Yeah, okay. So going blank, because I'm trying to connect all of these things to our intro, explanation. So then you go blank because the brain has decided, I can't deal with this. I'm about to activate survival mode.
Yeah, survival mode. Yeah, so it's like there's a state called sympathetic nervous system, or call it sympathetic state. Call it the fight or flee.
Oh.
Fight or flee or flight. So when that happens, the brain thinks we need to survive. Either we should get more energy to run away or get more energy to fight. So it's about blood flow. This is what will actually happen. To explain it simply, blood will flow from your prefrontal cortex, the forebrain, to the hindbrain. Because you have cerebellum here. It's for movement. So you want to run. So this one should be more activated. And you need blood. Blood is energy. So the blood goes from here, which is meant for executive function, help you think clearer. It's not getting much blood, so it's not more active. It goes here. This part gets more active. This for creativity. This for thinking. This for focus. No blood, less blood, so you can't perform its work properly. It goes here so you can run, respond to the fear. Do you get it?
Yeah.
So now you can't think clearly. Now you can't focus properly. So you don't remember. Because this is meant to help you remember.
Yeah.
That is why I say this. You always need to have a technique. So we'll still use the same 4C process to help you. You start with a desire. If you want to pass your exams. If you don't want to fail. The opposite. Have a strong desire. Not weak. Have strong reasons. Like I told you, I had strong reasons. I had to prove my dad wrong.
Yeah.
Strong reasons. This will dictate how you prepare.
Right. On the physical side, so that your brain can now adapt to your actions.
Yes, because of your desires.
True. Okay.
Strong desires attract good results. Strong why. So have a strong why. Desire. And when you have a desire, this is also activated.
Okay.
The boss.
Indeed.
So if you are understanding this, it's about you trying to work the boss. It's about you trying to empower the boss, not getting the boss weakened, not getting the boss tied up. There's a phrase in the Bible that says, you can't plunder the house of a strong man unless you tie him up.
Yeah.
So if your boss, the strong man, is empowered, the possessions are protected. Your long-term memories, the information is protected. But if the stronghold, the strong man, is weakened, anybody can get in there and steal your possessions. You read this. It's not coming. It's been stolen.
I want to be in your class. I want to be in your class. I think you're a fantastic teacher.
Thank you.
I want to be in your class.
Thank
yes,
you.
yes. Now, see, right now, I think this will be last year. I probably met more people with sleep disorders than I've ever met in my entire life, in my entire young life. And so now it's not as though they're desiring not to sleep. They want to sleep. Sleep is just not coming due to one, issue or the other, right? How does this, contribute to exams failure? Less sleep, not having adequate sleep before your exam.
That's a good question. Sleep is medicine. So when you learn, you need sleep to help you form strong memories. Here's the science part. When you learn, the information gets into the memory center, hippocampus. It forms the memory for you. When you sleep, that's the time it takes the information to the long-term memory. So we call it consolidation. So it happens when you sleep well, not just normal sleep, when you sleep well. Some people will eat late, and when you are sleeping, the body still needs to find a way to digest it. So instead of getting more blood to flow to the brain to help you recover and consolidate the information, blood will move more will move here. Call it splenic circulation, gut circulation. So more blood will move here to help you digest the food. So you can't consolidate the information properly. The recovery process will be very slow because it's not getting more blood. That's how come eating late, if you have a paper, won't be too good. But if you're able to enjoy a sound sleep, and normally when you eat late, you can't even enjoy sound sleep. When you're under stress, you can't even enjoy sound sleep. We talked about sleep. So, but if you're able to enjoy sound sleep, all the things you've learned will be consolidated. The brain will replay the information. So when you are learning, it goes like kick, 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 kick. When you are sleeping, it replays the information faster. So it goes like click, 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 click. It's repeating the information, so it forms strong memory. Repetition is the mother of strong learning. So when you keep repeating, so the brain will repeat the information when you click, 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 to make it stronger. And it happens when you sleep well, when you are in deep sleep.
Not the kind of sleep that you have put your phone over there, is waking up after 2 hours. What?
Not distractions. So you need that recovery. That's how come sleep is very, very important. That's how come even without light, when back in the day we didn't have light, from 6 will be dark. We play a little bit, we will have some fun, share some jokes, stories. Around 9, everybody will go to sleep. By 5, they are up. But these days, there's light. 7, 9, 10, 11, 12 people are still working.
God.
But naturally, it wasn't supposed to be like that. We're supposed to go to bed around 9. Darkness will come, and the body responds to that. Something called melatonin, or melatonin. When around 9, the body will secrete melatonin to help you sleep better. So you are still up. It can't come. So that could affect your sleep.
Yeah.
So sleep is very, very important. So learn well, sleep well.
Yeah. Right. I'm about to go back to school, and I am planning. So I'm using this as my preschool lecture.
Yeah.
Because my sleep is a mess. Oh my goodness. And I don't sleep for long. So I would go to bed very late, but I'd be up, and I don't need an alarm to wake me up. Trust me, I don't. My body's just up after like 3 or 4 hours. It's done.
Yeah.
No more sleep. Right. So we're learning and growing together, guys. We're not going to be messing up with our sleep. So for someone who is in school, who is trying to have good sleep, would you advise pills, tea, and stuff like that for them to use to aid them to sleep well?
Pills, we didn't recommend it because it could help you sleep and it will have some side effect.
Right.
And if you look into sleep very well, they will even tell you, even with pills, you don't enjoy the kind of deep sleep that you need.
You need.
Even though it makes you fall asleep, but you won't have that quality sleep with the pill. Natural, artificial. Artificial can't do the natural work.
It's not aiding you.
It's aiding, yeah, but still, it's helping you.
Yeah.
But it will have consequences.
Right.
And it won't have the same quality as something that is natural.
How about the chamomile teas?
That is natural.
Okay. All right.
So organic will be good.
What?
Organic
will
be good. Natural things will be good. Exercise is good for sleep.
Sure.
So when you wake up in the morning, move the body. Around 7, 8, move the body a little bit. The body remember that when you're about to go to bed. Because it will help you release serotonin. Serotonin will get converted into the melatonin that will help you sleep. So exercise is good. Early morning sunshine, super for sleep. So when you get into early morning sunshine, you see your shadow gets taller. It means it's more beneficial. So between 6:30 and 9, jump in it. You could do it for 20 minutes. It's good. It also helps you release more serotonin, not just vitamin D, serotonin as well, to help you sleep better. Late night eating, not too good. So you need to leave the tummy. Give it some space. You could stop eating around 6. So that when you're about to go to sleep, your tummy is a little bit empty. Digestion taking place. That will help you sleep better. So these are some of the things that you could do. In the book, my book again, I talk about things you could do to help you sleep better.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't think too much when you're about to go to bed. Screen time too, not too good for sleep. Excessive screen time.
That one.
Because when there's too much light and you do screen time, then mind still thinks it's daytime. So some people, when it's about 1 hour, 2 hours to bedtime, they will dim out the light. Yeah. You are preparing the body for sleep. So you need to be intentional.
Yeah.
You need to be intentional.
How about those who, and again, this is not it's related, but it's not exactly what we're talking about. Those who, in their sleep, have to wake up and snack a little bit, even though they've had like great food, they're full, but in the middle of the night, they have to wake up and snack. What would you explain that to me?
It's not good.
It's not good.
It's not good.
Huh?
This is common say. It's not good. It's not good. You overburden the gut.
Right.
So in the process of digesting the food, you give it more food. Interaction.
Yeah.
Not too good.
Not good.
Not too good.
That's not me, but it's you.
Yeah,
you who's watching.
It's not good. And health-wise, not good at all. It can't digest properly, so it's likely to turn into fat. So it could lead to chronic diseases like diabetes, hypertension, not too good. We eat too much. That's our problem. We eat too much.
Like we focus too much on food. Why are we
eating 3 times? I said this on Joy Prime. Eating 3 times a day may not be necessarily important.
Why are you eating 3 times?
So the guy says, I can't afford 3 square meals. It's draining your pocket. Why? Because 3 square meals is not necessary.
Right.
Not every day. It takes your money. Number 2, 3 square meals could make you sick because you become more flesh. And you use the money to buy medicine. So you eat for the flesh, enjoy, then you get sick and use the money to buy medicine. So every month, your salary wouldn't be enough.
But how about you break it down properly? So for instance, in the morning, you have like a really good beverage, maybe cocoa.
Yeah, go light.
That's very light.
Go
in
light,
the afternoon, you go for maybe something heavy. So you go for like a fufu or rice. Then in the evening, you step it down with like some salads. How about that?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. The thing is this. The secret is this. You need to do heavy. One
yeah.
be heavy. The rest should be light. But always leave a gap.
Right, okay.
So you take breakfast, it should be light. You are breaking the fast. That's what we call it, breakfast.
Yeah.
You slept all the way. Now you wake up, you break the fast. And if you are breaking fast, it has to be light. So you need a window, about 12 hours, 14 hours. Give the tummy some break.
Yeah.
So the guy who stopped eating around 6 or around 7, when they wake up, so 7 all the way to 12 will be 5 hours, all the way to 8 is about 13 hours. They won't still eat, they'll still push on. 10, they are still not eating. That's about 15 hours.
The stomach is free. To put anything
And it can't, now it has the power and the resources to do its work.
Indeed. Right.
Help you think clearly.
Right.
Do you get it? So you eat around 10 light. Maybe around 1, like the sun. You see how the sun shines? Beginning is light. Around 12, 1, all the way to 2, 3, it gets intense. From 4, 5, 6, it dims out. That's how you should be eating.
Oh.
Light, it starts light, it gets intense in the middle, it goes light again. So light from the beginning, big in the middle, light again.
Y'all heard? Okay. So this one is lesson for all of us. Let's not go doing all the extra stuff when it comes to eating. Okay. We're learning, okay? Right. Back to
learning.
Back to learning.
How to pass.
Cramming. And I know a lot of students who do that. I was one of those people. I'll be working through the week when I have exams 2 days before. My friends and I would now go and camp in my house and do all sorts of things just so we can pass our exams. And so cramming before exams, how does that affect? Because personally, to be very, very honest with you, I do not remember well the things that I learned the night before. But if I go to class and I stay in class, not on my phone, but stay in class, I'm able to remember everything. I don't have to go back to the books. I don't have to. Trust me. Once I stay in class and I'm able to listen, all I have to do is just, I don't even have to. I don't have to, it stays there. I don't know what science that is, but it just stays there. I just remember. But if I have to learn on my own and I do the night before, it just doesn't work. But some people, it works for them. What would you explain that to be, and how does it really help?
Okay, let's look at the positive side of cramming. But entirely is negative. But everything can't be 100% negative.
Okay.
So let's look at the small positives in there. Cramming, it creates sense of urgency. Okay, some people will wait till the last minute before they start learning. So there's urgency. Urgency will help the brain release dopamine. It's like a fuel to push you. So there's urgency. Now I'm running late. So there's natural motivation. Okay. Nobody will tap you to wake up to go learn. Nobody will tell you to stay up late. It's natural because you know you don't have much time. Okay, so that could be the positive side. Now let's look at the negative side.
Oh, that positive was very small.
The negative is so small. Yeah, so the negative will be this. It won't give you more time to form strong memories. It won't give you more time to have strong content. Remember the 4 C's. To have good content. Because you are tempted to do selective reading. Because you don't have the time to cover. Hey, this book, I'm supposed to cover everything. I've got only 2 days. They gave you frame ups. You want to use 2 days to cover everything. You see the big book. Number 1, you get scared.
Yeah.
Number 2, you know you don't have much time.
Yeah.
So you're reading something and it's not coming, it's not catching on. You skip it. Then go to other things. So that will even bring fear. So cramming won't allow the deep processing. It won't allow the brain to consolidate the information. Again, cramming won't allow learning techniques, because I talk about 37-7. It will be better for you to read for 30 minutes. You take short break, 2 minutes, then you come back and go over the key points. You could even close the book and see what you could remember. It's called desirable difficulty. I could look it up. I want to close and see what I could remember. Bring it from my memory bank. If you do that, it forms strong memories. The ones you couldn't remember, look on them again. Look over, review to make it stronger. Then you take a break for 7 to make the brain not go under stress. Then you come back and continue. But people who don't have much time can't use this effective method that helps you form strong memories. So they want to go all the way, do 2 hours, 3 hours without a break. And when you do that, you're likely to remember 50%, and 50% is likely to go away, forget. The next day, you're likely to remember just 30%. 70% is likely to be forgotten. This is science. So some people will cram and might not even sleep well, problem. So the information was not properly consolidated. It's still in your hippocampus. You couldn't transfer it to the long-term memory. So you get in there, and you don't want anybody to talk to you. You don't want anybody to disturb you. So they go like, Kwasi, what's it say? Because they think when they open their mouth, everything will go away.
It does. Once the conversation is good.
And some people, let's bring to master's level. Some of my students, they cram, they get into the exam hall. Some of them are owing. And say, Kofi Mensa, what they can come out. Because you need to explain why you're not paying. And they get scared. They argue their points out. Maybe they're allowed to go back in. By the time they go back, everything is gone. But if you did not cram, but you found a way to consolidate the information, the opposite, you had a backdoor key. Even when you are disturbed, you can still remember. Let's use this example.
Okay.
We are learning types of vertebrate. I didn't cram. I took my time. I used learning techniques. So I have a backdoor key. Fish. Types of vertebrate. Fish, amphibians, mammals, reptiles, birds. They are asking me to write these one and explain. But I use a learning technique. Oh, fish, amphibians. So farm B. If I want to remember this, I need to use a trigger. Farm B. So I picture going to farm B, seeing all these vertebrates. So even when I'm disturbed, I have a backdoor key.
Right.
That's a trigger. and your mind will go to the trigger first. When it gets to the trigger, everything that's associated to the trigger will be remembered. So once my mind goes to the farm B as a trigger, it will bring all the information. Farm B, fish. Then it comes back to you. Amphibians, reptiles, mammals, birds. But without a technique, without this trick, you get back in there. Types of vertebrate doesn't come. You might even remember fish, but the rest won't come. But I have a backdoor key, like a spare key. So even when I get logged out, I know I'll have a spare key. And that will bring your fear down. Because you know you have a spare key. If you get into your house and you know sometimes you could be locked out, or you might even forget your key, but you know you have a spare key with your sister who lives closer, would you be scared?
No.
There's no fear. When that happens, there's a backup plan. So it goes back to the 4C process.
Yeah.
Have a strong desire. Have strong content. Find a way to consolidate the information using learning techniques. If you don't know how to do this, get the book, The 37 Secrets to Learning. They are loaded with techniques to help you. I just explained one of them. Find a way to remain confident and be cautious in there. Take your time. All right? Now, we could also get into how you could reduce fear.
Yes.
So if you prepare well, it's good. But when you still get in there and you still experiencing nervousness, fear, you're on edge, you could take in deep breath. Okay, so before the paper, do this. Your exhalation should be longer than your inhalation. So when you inhale, when you exhale, make it longer. So we inhale.
Okay.
Exhalation longer. Through your mouth. You could do it like 3 times. It calms your nerves. This is science. Naturally will calm your nerves. It will help you reduce your level of cortisol. It will go down. It will activate your prefrontal cortex, the CEO of the brain. It will help you become more confident. Smile. So before the paper, put on a nice smile. It fogs the brain. It tricks the brain. The brain thinks you are confident. How can you put on a nice smile if you are under fear? So you smile and enjoy it. So the brain thinks everything is good. The environment is safe. Prefrontal cortex, are you getting the message? We are ready to do this. Hug a friend. For the paper, if you have the opportunity. Hugging is very, very powerful. When you hug, it raises your level of confidence. It reduces cortisol level. It calms you down. You could hug a friend. Say good words to each other. We can do this. It's possible. Release dopamine gives you some energy to do this. So I keep saying this. The invigilators, they also have a part to play in there. They make the environment too tense. They get in there. If you copy today, if you copy, I'll seize your paper. They get scared. Why not do the opposite? Yes, the right thing should be done, but why not encourage instead? We are here to do great things. I believe in everybody. These are the set rules. Please, I'm not interested in taking anybody's paper, cancelling anybody's paper. We all can do this. I want us to obey the rules and regulations. Believe in yourself. Be calm. Read the questions. Understand them. You can do this. And I even say that some schools could get the students to get in the exam hall early. When I train the schools, that's what I tell them. Get them to go to the exam hall early. If it starts at 8, let them be there around 7:30. They could sing, do some praises. Science part. It improves your vagal tone. Simply, there's a part in there that improves your brain.
Okay.
So when you do this and your vagal tone is elevated, your brain is elevated because it sends message to the brain.
The brain.
So when we clap, we are making the brain stronger. When we sing, you are making the brain stronger. Even when you mime, it makes the brain stronger. So we could make them do these things or exercise before. Few simple, brief exercise. Simple exercise. Like God sleeps. Let's make it more practical. So before you walk in there,
I don't have to. Okay, let's try. Let's try. We're going to try it.
Before you walk in there, okay, you could do some God sleeps. Like you are skipping.
Yeah. Okay.
You could do like 50 if you want.
I was going to try to jump again.
Yes.
No. My
And
body wouldn't allow
it will
that.
help you relax. This will help you relax. Then you take deep breath.
Okay.
It will activate your prefrontal cortex. So even I tell speakers before your speech, if you could do something like that, it helps you speak better because it improves the brain. Because speaking is about remembering information, talking well, knowing how to articulate well. When your motor cortex is improved, it helps. So when you do this, your brain is powerful, your prefrontal cortex activated, it reduces your level of cortisol, it takes away the stress, and you calm down, and this will help you remember a lot of the things that you learn. Remember this, when you are calm, you are more creative.
When you're calm, you're more creative. Remember this, don't forget, because today, after today, if you go and fail your exams because of all these reasons, then you're not learning, and I wouldn't want that. But let's go back to the fact that different people are wired differently. So what might work for me, like I said earlier, that I have to go to class. If I don't show up in class, that's a problem for me. So I make it a point to be in school because if I do not show up, that's a problem. I'd have to struggle to learn. Others don't mind not being in class. All they have to do is one night, sit down behind the book, and they're good to go. Others need to cram, actually, because anything you teach them in class is not going to enter. You do anything here, it's not going to happen. They have to cram to be able to, pass the exams. With the different minds and the different, people that we deal with, is there a thing that you could actually say that this works for everyone?
That is true. We have different types of learners. Kinesthetic, auditory, visual. Some people, they like to see, and when they see, that's it. Some people, they love to hear. Auditory, they love to be in the classroom, listen to the teacher. That's good for them. Some people, they love to see and do some demonstration, touch it. Okay, kinesthetic learners, they want to touch, experiment it. But this is what I'll tell you. The visual learner can become a kinesthetic learner. The auditory learner can train themselves to become visual. And if you can do the three, you become a great learner. Because they all have benefits. So if I see it, it goes to my visual cortex. If I touch it, it goes to my tactile cortex. If I listen, it goes to my auditory cortex. But what if I did all of them?
All of them.
So if the visual is not working for me, auditory comes in, kinesthetic flows in.
Is there a special way to activate them, or they just happen?
Yeah, so I do both. I would see when they are. I'll go to class, listen to the teacher. I'll also look at visuals, videos to see what I'm learning. They are teaching me photosynthesis. I want to go to YouTube and see this myself, how it works. There's a tree, sunshine, there's rainfall. I want to see this. I also want to demonstrate it. Plant a seed myself. Get some seedlings, plant it, water it, and see it grow. Thinking about photosynthesis, how can you forget this in the exam hall? You did it.
Okay.
So it's better to mix all these ones. So they are effective learning techniques, and it works for everybody. You know, even it comes to types of intelligence. People say, I'm this type, I'm that type. But the beauty is this: if I desire yours, get perfect training, practice, 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 I could get it. So it's about desire. But when it comes to learn, I'll say this: try all the techniques.
Okay, okay.
Because it will give you more reserves. So if this part doesn't work, there's another route for you, and that will make you a great learner.
Awesome, awesome. For someone who has failed an exam, who's probably watching this morning, and they're preparing to go back to make, you know, another very daring decision to try that exams again, what would be that advice you'd give to them? So this time it will be a pass, not a fail.
The first advice is get my book.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Right, because all the things I'm talking about and the things I'll talk about are in the book. So try and get the book, 37 Secrets to Passing Exams. Okay, it's a simplified version of the 37 Secrets to Learning.
Okay, okay.
Get the book. But here's more. Failure doesn't always have a negative connotation. So failure can be good. I failed several times. My university days were not too good.
Oh.
But it was a great lesson for me. So it's about your interpretation of failure. It's about your perception of failure. So I wrote this in the book: failure doesn't have a name until you name it. So you call it failure. I could call it challenge. This is meant to challenge me. I could call it feedback. This is giving me feedback to tell me my preparation was bad. If I want to do better, I need to do better, do more. I could call it fuel, something to push me. When I failed at the university, it was fuel for me. It pushed me. And this could help release the dopamine, energy for me. So I wanted to do better moving forward. I wanted to erase it moving forward. So anytime I took a course, I took it seriously. So that was the benefit of the failure. Law of storm and calm. So there was storm, now there will be calm. So it is not too late for you. You can bounce back. It's giving you feedback. Take advantage of the feedback. Assess yourself. What did not help you? Quit it. What are you starting? There were some habits, they didn't help. You need more habit to erase it.
Okay, yeah.
You need about 11 inputs to erase 11 good inputs to erase one bad input. So what it means is when you have a bad habit, laziness, you need more good habit to take it away. So I'm lazy. Okay, all right. So what do? I need to be more disciplined. I'll do small things. I'll exercise every day. What I say I'll do, I'll try and do it. I'll try. Do it consistently. You have a 21-day rule. Everything you do 21 days becomes a habit. So I will be intentional. So conscious mind to unconscious. So I'll be intentional. Do it consciously. Then it goes unconscious. Then it will dictate the flow. I don't need to, like you trying to drive, you first have to be conscious. Over time, when you're well trained, your basal ganglia takes the habit. Now you can even drive without looking. Sometimes you can't drive, you be here, your car would bring you here without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because it knows the route.
Yeah.
You jump in, you go.
Yeah.
Subconscious.
Right.
So you do these ones consciously. You start new habit, you quit bad habit, then you look at things you have to improve, then you have your main target, then keep going. Use the learning techniques, okay? Every day read something. And also bring them exercise. It improves the brain. So please, exercise. Every day try and exercise. It's good for neuroplasticity, rewiring of the brain. So yes, you think you are dumb. There are things you can do to improve the brain. No such thing as dumb person. We all are great people. We can do great things. So if you get perfect training, you'll be like the teacher. It's biblical, isn't it?
It is.
Every student who receives perfect training will be like the teacher. Simply means every student. So become like a student. You failed. Now see yourself as a student, not just passing through.
Yeah.
If you're a student, you're ready to learn.
To learn.
Get the perfect training your teachers are giving you. Get the perfect training you have in the book, 37.7, and other books. Read them, go through them, practice them, and you become intelligent. It's possible for everybody.
It is.
Super possible for all of us.
It is super possible. So let's get started right now. Thank you so much, Godafo, for coming through. It's a great way to start the year. How do we connect with you? And if we want to buy the book, how do we?
Yes, so usually I like WhatsApp messages.
Oh, okay.
Because I respond to any message.
Right.
So you could WhatsApp 0209 66 1100. 0209 661100. I'm also on social media, so all the handles, I have handles I could give out. Facebook, just type Godafo, okay? Same for Instagram, do same for TikTok. GORDAFFUL. Just type it. You can Google it. I told somebody, if we Google your name, what comes up?
Yeah.
It's a reflection of you.
Actually, I'm going to try that today. I'm actually going to try it. I have
Google
never
your
Googled
name.
myself.
Yeah, Google your name.
No, I'm going to do that today. But God, thank you so much for coming.
Thank
you so much. I always enjoy your lecture. I told you I'm going to take my master's class in your school because of you. I want you to be my lecturer, else I'm not coming.
Thank you.
Now, to you out there, like I keep telling you, we're learning and growing together, and this is another way to help us. For those who are planning on improving, adding value, and they want to go back to school this year, for my youngies who are getting ready to go back to school or who are already in school, it's important for you to learn these techniques to improve your learning skills and also pass those exams. Listen, you're spending a whole lot of money. It just pays to pass that exams. Like, I mean, how would you? Anyway, so that's it for Lifestyle Daily. We have more coming up on the show. My name is Miriam Uduak-Mensah. We're going for a quick commercial break. When we come back, the conversation continues right here on the show.